is a sign of living proof that God has a sense of humor. Well, I think there's a lot of proof that God has a sense of humor in all of us. And one of those, believe it or not, I think is improvisational comedy. And the reason I picked that venue or genre of comedy, about 2001, I took a class called Improvisational Comedy, 4 weeks, and you'll learn it all, right? Stacy Domofsky was in that class. I had the honor of meeting her, and we went over the years, formed a little troupe with a few other people. But what was interesting was the first night of class, we show up, and the teacher D says, well, we're going to learn the rules of improv. Now, isn't that an oxymoron, the rules of improv? I mean, improvisational implies no rehearsal, no script, no canned scene. You're just going to do it from the top of your head. You're just going to make it up as you go. But believe it or not, there were 6 rules of improvisational comedy that he taught us. And I think that there is a message in there for all of us from life, and I'd like to see if you agree with me. Rule number 1 is listen and watch others. Now, in improv comedy, that means you're not going to stand there and be thinking about your next line so you could be really funny and do something funny and get the audience to laugh at you. You've got to be listening to everybody else that's on the stage and watching what's going on. It's about teamwork. It's about creating synergy and not being the star of the troupe, letting the troupe shine as a group. Well, in real life, you've got to do that with your interactions and your relationships. You need to listen when you're talking to someone and not be thinking about, oh, well, I got a better story than that. Wait till she's done. I'm going to just share my little story. Listen and engage. Have eye contact and form that bond so that you can move your relationship and your conversation forward, not have to be the star of it. Rule number 2 is don't deny. Now, in improv, that means you're going to get some crazy stuff from your partners up there. A scene may be going a certain way, and then all of a sudden somebody throws something out at you. But you don't deny it, you go with it. For instance, say I'm in a scene and my partner says, you know what, those neighbors over there, I think they're from Mars. Well, you don't stand there and go, no, they're not. Where does that take you? No place. Instead, you might say something about, really, from Mars? Maybe that's why there's all those candy wrappers on the ground. And take it to someplace unexpected. And that becomes funnier as the scene goes on. Now, in real life, don't always have to be right. We're going to have contradicting relationships. There's going to be times when you're not going to agree with someone's opinion. But what we have to do is agree to disagree. Because by always trying to be right, you just get stuck in the same spot of pointing fingers and trying to correct everybody else. Instead, learn to compromise. Rule number 3 is establish information early. During an improv game, that means right at the beginning of a scene, we're trying to set the who, the what, the where, what's going on. We make it as if we're right in the middle of the scene. We don't take the time to explain, hi, I'm the doctor, and I'm going to be playing over here to Marielle, who's my patient. We just are doctor and patient. We be those characters. Now, rule number 4 says, make assumptions and avoid questions. Interestingly enough, about a month ago, I gave you a speech about why you don't want to make assumptions. And here we are in improv, and we're saying make assumptions. But during the game, you want to, again, put your audience in a position where it's already happening. Just assume this is what's going on. We'll take you where you need to go. We're not going to explain it. Just go with us. So you make the assumption that what you're doing or what your partners are doing are going to work. And it always works. Now, in real life, those 2 rules kind of play hand in hand. We're constantly defining ourselves and redefining ourselves. as we learn and grow and mature. And it's important that we, take the time to put ourselves out there, our real selves, and listen to the people that are around us. And it's also important with assumptions, like I said a month ago, you don't want to make assumptions where your expectations have made disappointments because the other person's expectations were different. What you want to do is make assumptions for yourself, however. Use your instincts, use your intuition, and assume that from your gut, you're doing what you need to do and saying what you need to say. Trust yourself and take some leaps of faith in your life. Rule number 5, raise the stakes. Well, in a game, that means bring in conflict and crisis and make it about, you know what, Marty, I'm not your sister, I'm your mother. Raise the stakes. Now, in real life, stakes are raised without us asking sometimes. But I ask you challenge you to bring some spontaneity in your life and raise the stakes for yourself and add some joy and some excitement to your life. And finally, rule number 6 is be consistent and real. That kind of says it. Whether you're in a game of improv, you stay in character. In life, stay true to yourself. We're all improvisational comedians, whether we flop or whether we succeed. All you got to remember is the show must go on, and you will be successful. Thank you.